Okay, so something pretty historic just happened. Humanity launched Artemis 2, the first crewed mission to go around the moon in more than 50 years. Enormous rocket, years of engineering, thousands of scientists involved. Basically the kind of event that makes space nerds light up.
And light up we did, star stuff. But unfortunately, not everyone got the memo when it comes to the scale of what we actually achieved. There is one group of people who have been in absolute meltdown ever since.
Yes, flat earthers. Oh hey Dan, you feeling good? After you won your bet, and I had to say the word fabulous 10 times in one of my previous videos. New images of Earth from the Artemis program, and they are absolutely fabulous. Most fabulous sights. A fabulous little planet, so a few fabulous examples, slightly less fabulous, which is pretty fabulous physics, into a fabulous conspiracy theory.
I'm feeling particularly smug actually, thanks. I mean, it could have been worse, couldn't it? I could have chosen the word Expelliarmus.
Good point. Now, in the same way, Dave Weiss and Mark Sargent had to give their incredibly clear and concise, proof-filled, no-nonsense opinions on the Artemis launch.
The number of edits that we've had already.
Oh, yeah, during the review of this.
Edit!
Eric Dubay released a video too.
And since Eric Dubay is probably now the biggest flat earther on YouTube, we thought that Batman and Robin over here should sort him out.
I like that, Robin. Let's see what he had to say.
On April Fool's Day, NASA officially launched their Artemis 2 rocket, claiming to take humans back to the moon in 2026. Going back to the moon, however, would require us having actually gone there before, which myself and many other researchers have debunked beyond any shadow of a doubt in several previous videos, showing that the original NASA moon landings were faked in a studio on Earth. So now, over 50 years later, with half a century of technological developments, Artemis 2 isn't even claiming to land on the moon like Apollo, but merely flying by.
Okay, first things first, the moon landings have absolutely not been debunked without a shadow of a doubt. Secondly, if that's your opinion as a researcher with no published work, nothing peer-reviewed or tested, then it's no surprise that the moon landings have not been debunked without a shadow of a doubt. And finally, yes, Artemis 2 did only fly by, because it's a test mission, just like Apollo 10 was. And we all know what happened next with that one.
As usual, we are shown a rocket launch from Kennedy Space Center in Florida, which performs the same parabolic arc that every rocket, missile, and other projectile shot into the sky does. Rather than shooting straight upwards towards the moon, which would be far more logical and look much more convincing, every rocket launch arcs from vertical to horizontal, and most you can even see beginning to arc back down to Earth before leaving view. NASA's excuse for this is that they are purposely doing this parabolic arc with all their rockets because of a super high-tech gamer gravity hack where the rockets are being caught in a gravity well that works like a slingshot to help propel them better to the moon.
So here Eric is basically asking why the rocket isn't going straight up, like it's going to unlock the next level in a video game. But rockets aren't trying to go up. Rockets are trying to go sideways really, really fast in Earth's orbit. To stay in orbit around Earth, a spacecraft has to travel about 28,000 kilometers per hour sideways. So if Artemis went straight up, we would have created the world's most expensive fireworks display. The rocket would go up, slow down, and gravity would say, "Lovely visit. Now please, return to Earth immediately." That curve you see is called a gravity turn, and it's one of the most efficient ways to get into Earth's orbit. Basically, everyone who launches rockets into space does it. Except apparently in Eric's version of spaceflight, rockets should go straight up. Like in school science projects, guys.
Watch closely as the rocket goes from vertical to horizontal and out over the ocean, away from all observers' views. In one instant, it just disappears from view completely. Where has it gone? It goes from being clearly visible to there just being nothing discernible whatsoever, like it just vanished into thin air.
As Star Stuff just said there, rockets don't go straight up. They pitch over and fly horizontally to build up speed. That means they very quickly get further away and get faster. And at this point, two things happen. The rocket starts to get too small for your eyes or a camera to resolve, and the amount of atmosphere you're looking through increases dramatically. So the rocket fading out of visibility like that is exactly what we'd expect to see.
Watch this footage from just before the Artemis II was preparing to launch, and pay close attention to the airplane that flies into view from the right-hand side of the screen. Where did it go? The plane just completely vanishes from view, as if it disappeared behind a giant green screen. Watch it again in slow motion.
Yes, let's create suspicion for everyone, so that they just believe whatever I say and run with it. Okay, regarding the disappearing plane, first of all, we can see it was 2.5 hours before launch, so we know nothing liftoff related caused this illusion to occur. That's because for about 3 hours before launch, the SLS is prepping for launch, and there's a tanking process that occurs. The plane is in fact disappearing behind rocket plumes. Not necessarily fire and smoke plumes, but rather plumes from cryogenic venting and vapor clouds. The SLS uses liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen at below freezing temperatures. And because Florida air is much warmer, these fuels constantly boil inside the tanks. Now, to prevent the tanks from overpressurizing and potentially rupturing, NASA uses bleeder valves to let the gaseous fuel escape. So what happens when cold gas is being vented in warm Florida air? It causes moisture, hence why a cloud of fog or plumes will be present. From where the camera is, at that distance, it looks like nothing.
Another oddity is the following footage showing these cable cars lowering from the rockets during launch. These are known as the emergency escape cable cars, allegedly used to get the astronauts out in the case of an emergency. They sure look like they're being used here at this last moment. How do we know that they're empty? The astronauts could easily have just hopped into those cable cars to be taken to the next studio where they sit in harnesses pretending to be in outer space.
Yes, those cable cars are part of the emergency escape system, or more specifically, the ground egress system. This system is designed to evacuate astronauts and ground crew during a launch pad emergency, and is only ever used pre-launch. Now, NASA released those baskets during the launch, then slides them down cables to move them out of the blast zones. And these are the areas where the solid rocket boosters could cause substantial damage to them.
Did you know that NASA is the world's largest purchaser of helium? Helium is a stable and very light element used for sending balloons up into high altitude. NASA admittedly uses large amounts of helium to send up its satelloons.
I'm sorry, did we just go from that's a rocket to this is a party decoration? Because that escalated beautifully. So the idea here is NASA uses helium, balloons use helium, therefore rocket equals balloon. By that logic, hospitals use oxygen. I use oxygen. Therefore, I am a hospital. Look, helium is used in rockets for very unglamorous, very real reasons, like pressurizing fuel tanks and keeping propellants flowing properly. It's basically the rocket's version of keep everything moving and don't explode. It's not there to make a rocket gently float into the sky like it's on its way to a child's birthday party.
Once the rocket is out of the public's view, after a couple minutes of genuine launch footage, true to form, NASA always switches to CGI. We can never get full, live, unedited video focused straight ahead of the rocket, or with a view focused on Earth. All we ever get is launch footage, cut to CGI like this for an hour, then whenever they're ready to restart the so-called live feed, here's what we get. Always a view with huge portions of the screen taken up by large random pieces of the craft. Then, long blue screen outages lasting for minutes or sometimes hours, only to come back with another similar video of another large section of the craft in the foreground.
And we've talked about the launch camera footage before, haven't we? You've got ground tracking cameras, onboard cameras, and externally mounted cameras. The blue screens there indicate signal loss. Artemis sometimes pass through communication dead zones, or they switch between relay satellites. So yes, you do sometimes get dropouts. And finally, yes, of course there's large bits of the spacecraft in the frame. The cameras are mounted on the craft. There were 4 GoPros, for example, set up on the solar arrays of Orion.
Look at the supposed Earth in these videos. Why is it shaped like that? In every other image and video NASA releases of the Earth, it is perfectly circular. Why is it squished here? How can the Earth suddenly change shape this drastically? They always claim Earth is an oblate spheroid, but this is one of the only times I have ever seen NASA showing Earth actually looking that way.
Oh yes, the Earth is now apparently a stress ball. What you're seeing isn't a squished Earth, it's lens distortion. Wide-angle cameras stretch and warp things near the edges. Same reason why your face looks so weird on a GoPro. The Earth is fine. The camera just has personality.
Also, where are all the satellites and stars? There should be tens of thousands of satellites floating around up there, but we never see any of them whizzing by.
Where are all the people in this photo, Eric? 1.6 million people live on Manhattan Island, and yet we see none of them here. In case he didn't get the joke, the people are too small to see here, Eric.
Another thing I guarantee we won't see is independent video from people filming with super zoom cameras capturing Artemis 2 during its slingshot around the Earth, nor during its trip around the Moon. P900 and P1000 cameras are able to zoom into the Moon with incredible detail, but I guarantee if we all train our telescopes and cameras to the Moon when Artemis 2 is supposedly passing by, not a single person will capture video of the rocket passing by the Moon.
Hey Eric, there is independent video from people filming with super zoom cameras.
Last night I tried using my gigantic triple telescope system to take photos of the Artemis space capsule on its way back to Earth. I took about a 1-hour time lapse of Artemis while it was flying through space, and here's what it ended up looking like. The interesting thing you can see here about this dot is that it actually doesn't follow a straight line, but it follows a slightly curved path. This is because of the parallax of Earth's rotation. It causes the actual path of a spacecraft to appear curved from our point of view relative to the stars.
So that's how small it is. Regarding being able to see it near the Moon, you're trying to spot something that is a few meters wide next to something that is 3,500 kilometers wide and insanely bright. That's like trying to see a firefly next to a floodlight from across another continent. So, nice try there, Eric.
NASA has already started releasing new Earth images supposedly taken from Artemis 2, and they are just as dubious as ever. Again, they are showing us Earth as a crisp, perfect circle/sphere in these images, yet just moments earlier in their live stream, they were showing video of a clearly smushed Earth, looking nothing like the pictures released shortly after. So let's take a closer look at these images. Where are all the continents? We are seeing half of the globe in this image, and there is nothing but ocean and part of Africa. We are supposed to believe that all of North America, South America, Europe, Asia, Australia, and Antarctica are just hiding on the other 50% of the globe?
Now, one of two things is happening here. Either Eric cannot use his eyes properly, or he's lying. Because in this fabulous photo, we can see most of Africa, the Iberian Peninsula, and some other areas of Europe, most of Brazil, and even parts of Antarctica. On top of that, at that distance they took the photo from, they could only see 46% of the Earth's surface. So really we see pretty much exactly what we expect to see here, Eric.
Or how about this one, allegedly showing the Moon from Artemis 2? Why is the moon much smaller here in outer space than it is on Earth? I have never seen the moon that small, and yet NASA claims this picture was taken by the Artemis crew halfway from Earth to the moon.
Oh yes, the moon apparently doing zoom tricks now. From Earth, the moon can look huge because of things like camera zoom and the moon illusion near the horizon. From Artemis, you're much closer and using wide-angle lenses, so it can look smaller in frame. Same moon, different distance, different lenses. It's not shape-shifting, it's just how cameras and perspective work.
The reality is, these are not real photographs. In fact, you can take these new images just released from NASA and run them through an advanced AI filter to check for authenticity and see for yourself. These images do not even pass AI scans for authenticity and are all coming back as confirmed CGI images. People honestly should be able to discern for themselves that these Earth images are clearly CGI, but if you don't trust your own discernment, even AI is telling you that these are not real.
Which advanced AI filter, Eric? Because there is no reliable AI tool that can definitively tell you whether an image is real or CGI. These tools can easily be fooled by compression, lighting and noise. But why should people be able to discern for themselves that these images are CGI? Genuinely, why? Most people have never seen the Earth from space with their own eyes. They don't understand how lighting works up there, or even some of the perspectives involved. What exactly can they compare it to? You're asking people with no real reference point to make a judgment on something they've never experienced.
Also, look at the bright hot spot of sunlight shining at one specific point of Earth. If the sun's light is transferring through 93 million miles of space to reach the Earth, shouldn't it be lit uniformly if that was the case? Why would there be a single bright spot as if being lit locally?
You know, you're really something when you upload an AI-generated image to AI to ask if it's an AI image. It is in fact an AI-generated image. But people need to know how to spot these kinds of things. How do we know it's definitely not an image from Artemis 2? First of all, it's nowhere to be found on the actual NASA site under the Artemis 2 gallery of images. But you know what is there? These images of the astronauts peering through the actual window from the Orion spacecraft. Notice the difference in the windows? Now let's look at an image from the ISS from ESA. So here we can see where AI got all its inspiration from. So are we really going to talk about a sunspot on an AI-generated image, Dan?
No, Kate. No, we are not.
Watching otherwise intelligent grown adults being completely duped and stupefied by this propaganda is honestly embarrassing and pathetic. Starry-eyed NASA fanboys are so excited by the prospect of living in their imagined science fiction Star Trek future that they cannot see the deception for what it is. They hear about building bases on the moon and sending humans to colonize Mars, and these ideas, implanted by Hollywood, then fertilized by NASA, have taken such strong roots in their brains that they can no longer see the forest for the trees.
Calling people fanboys and pathetic doesn't really make your argument much stronger. You're basically telling people that if they disagree with you, then they are brainwashed. Now, I believe that Eric Dubay is trying to create some sort of social pressure at this point here. No one wants to be seen as naive or gullible, so this could potentially nudge some viewers towards agreeing with him without any evidence. It's a bit of a douchey move, to be honest, Eric.
For example, I watched the popular YouTuber Some Ordinary Gamers talking about his excitement about this Artemis 2 launch in his recent The Artemis 2 Launch video. The crazy amount of glee and happiness this man was experiencing during the launch, his permanent smile and glassy-eyed wonder, accompanied by his hopes of an off-world future where humanity lives on Mars, just made me sad for how duped the masses truly are. People want to believe they're part of some great exploration of the cosmos, and NASA gives them the ability to be backseat passengers with parasocial relationships. The last thing they want to do is honestly consider the possibility that they're being lied to about the Earth and outer space. So many never even look at the abundant evidence proving their entire worldview is nothing but a patchwork of propaganda and lies.
Artemis 2 was profoundly significant, not only taking humans to lunar orbit after 50 years, but breaking records for distance and making so many firsts along the way. So I'm sorry we were annoying you with our very rational excitement around this mission, Eric.
We were unapologetically excited, weren't we, Kate?
Unequivocally.
In fact, I was so excited that I almost forgot Eric still hasn't signed that photo for me.
And he never will.
Maybe I should send him one of me first.
Let's wrap this video, shall we, before you say anything else?
Yes, very good idea. Right, thank you so much for watching today's video as ever. If you enjoyed it, then please do consider subscribing to the channel, hitting the thumbs up button too. And of course, please do go and subscribe to Star Stuff too. The link for her channel is in the description. I've been Simon Dan. Have yourselves a great day and I'll see you all for another video soon. And that means there's only one thing left for Kate to say.
Cool beans.